Most people, myself included, did not like all this realignment and the conference shaking and everything. One, I like tradition. Two, I don't like losing rivalries. Three, regional leagues giving way to national stuff. However, I will say USC, Michigan, USC, Wisconsin out in Southern Cal, Oklahoma playing at Auburn. Now, I've seen Tennessee at Oklahoma a few years ago, so that one doesn't count in my head. But I'm seeing some games that I don't normally see, and I kind of like it. So my question is, was realignment worth it in the long term for fans, just for viewing purposes? Yay or nay? And I could go either way on this.
Well, even in the immediate short term, there seems to be really good payoff right now. It has created a lot of exciting games. I think the SEC is still coming out on top from the expansion and the teams that they brought in compared to the other conferences in college sports, or specifically in college football. You talked about the Auburn-Oklahoma game that had a lot of exciting plays last night. And I think even if you want to look at the long term or the bigger picture, when you look into other sports like softball or you look at basketball, I think the SEC is still ahead of the curve with the other conferences as well. So short term, long term, I think we're out on top having these conference expansions.
I generally think it's been good so far, but I do think because the SEC's kind of kicked the can down the road on scheduling, we haven't seen the negative impacts yet in terms of what we're going to be watching, because there's still a real chance Tennessee, Alabama drops off the schedule as an every year thing, or Tennessee, Georgia at least. And that's, Tennessee, Florida might not be an annual rivalry anymore. So when that stuff starts happening, I think fans might see it as a negative. For now, you're seeing Michigan, USC. It's new, it's fun.
Yeah.
So no negatives yet. And generally speaking, it's going to be good because the conference races are going to be good now. But I think you're going to lose some games that eventually, over time, will upset people.
Yeah.
Positivity has been outside of the SEC. You brought it up. Wisconsin going to Los Angeles. Usually that only happens January 1 when they're in Pasadena. It had a Rose Bowl feel to it.
Yeah.
USC, Michigan has a Rose Bowl feel to it. Page took the point 400 feet the other way. This is going to be good. It's going to be even better when college basketball gets here. And I get it. I'm a college hoops guy, and I'm just going to let you know, when you see some of these matchups, when Tennessee, who right now is projected to be a 4 seed in bracketology, when they got to go to Austin, or whenever Oklahoma's got to go to at Alabama to be able to play that type of defense that Nate Oates likes to go up against, that's when we're really going to be like, this is amazing. But out of the gate, as you already pointed out, Tennessee, Oklahoma, we've recently seen it. Yesterday, Auburn, Oklahoma, okay, it's kind of cool, and it had a big, sexy finish that made everybody go, oh, this is amazing.
See, I just thought, to me, it's just seeing teams play each other. They don't normally play each other
I hear you.
in a new location. To me, that whether that game stunk or not, flipping by for 20 seconds and going, oh, Oklahoma's at Auburn, that's kind of cool. That has more value to me now than I thought it would have, that I'm seeing. The problem is, the flip side is, that's a good one.
Right.
We also this weekend got Rutgers and Washington.
Right.
There's also that. Yeah.
Who cares?
I think, again, there's so many people who, it's SEC just means more beats their chest. They haven't had that yet. But if you're willing to broaden your expectations, if you will, outside of this conference, the Big Ten has done a very nice job of not, as Ryan put it, kick the can down the road when it comes to conference scheduling. You get 9 of these a year instead of the simple 8 the SEC is going to throw you.
Yeah, I guess I've just never been the kind of fan who I won't watch the other conferences.
No, I hear you.
I love the SEC so much I will not watch the Big Ten. That just seems odd
But what
to
it's
me.
doing, it's a very political season. Why would you watch the SEC when we do 9 of these and they do 8? Come on, Big Ten.
The only weird thing so far has been you had Washington State in a non-conference game early in the season. Stuff like that, where just to keep the rivalry going, you play it when you can.
Well, and you also have had the Big 12 had some of those games scheduled ahead of the season,
Yep.
and they kept them live, but they're not conference games.
Right.
They're conference rivals now, but they play games that didn't count as conferences.
Baylor, Arizona. This isn't a conference game, but they still have to play each other.
That's a little bizarre.
So some of those weird quirks, but it's not like overall negative. And the general consensus, I think, probably is you add games like Michigan, USC, and who cares about the other stuff because we don't watch those teams anyway.
Right.
Yeah, and I think if we keep it in the SEC, and to your point earlier about maybe losing some of these historically traditional games, I think that's where you end up having like the greatest obstacle in expanding the conferences. Is it going to be an 8-game conference, a 9-game conference slate? If you start to lose these historical traditional matchups, that's where you'll see this expansion no longer making sense. Because I know a lot of people, probably really even including myself, I don't like that we got rid of the East and West divisions. You kind of have to just because of location with Texas and Oklahoma coming in on the West. But if you're not having your third Saturday in October, your Tennessee, Florida games, even with Georgia and stuff, I think things start to lessen and they don't mean as much, and then obviously impacting the playoffs.
Well, and you also have to wonder, who is this all for? I mean, is it
Yeah.
all, well, it's for the TV viewer, but you're giving up something. If you're the Big Ten, for example, and you're gaining USC, Wisconsin. All right, I'm going to guess they probably did good numbers yesterday.
Yeah.
We'll see. But that was cool to see those programs meeting non-January 1st, as you say, cool location. But if you're giving up Wisconsin versus, I don't know, Minnesota, now they're going to keep playing for Bunyan's axe, but Wisconsin, all those teams have played a million times. Wisconsin, Illinois. I don't care. As a national viewer, I don't care. But you know who does care? Illinois and Wisconsin fans.
Right.
So you're basically saying, we don't care about you and your fans. Think about these people who are just soft core viewers. They're not hardcore into you, and we're just trying to get them, and we
Yeah.
don't care about you anymore. That's the downside.
And I think really the SEC is the only one that still resembles some
Yeah.
type of regional conference. You look at these other conferences and it really is an east to west coast kind of thing. I could not imagine being a student athlete being in those conferences where you're going from California all the way to like North Carolina for, some of the
Well,
other
Rutgers,
conferences.
Washington.
Exactly. I could not imagine doing that, and sometimes you have to be like, why do people care about this game? Even people who are fans of the conference or of those teams, it's very niche once you start doing that.
And it's cool for the first time around, but yeah, imagine being a parent of a Cal player or a Stanford player, and you're going to Florida State for a conference game. And,
Yeah.
Well, you had Florida State
Stanford-
SMU last night as a
Stanford,
conference
Clemson.
game. Yeah.
I mean, it's just
Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't game day going to Cal for Miami Cal this weekend?
yeah.
Tons of Miami fans ready to jump that West Coast flight, boys.
Since we do the Saturday kickoff every Saturday here at 11 o'clock on WATE, we shall not mention College Game Day, Tyler.
Come on.
That never
Wait,
gets
and
talked
I'm
about.
actually
All
on that show, so let's,
Yeah.
everything I just
right,
said.
when we come back, we'll look at the Fall's remaining schedule and rank their most dangerous games. Come on back on Sports Source.